Hi, I'm Kim,
I'm Torra.
and this is our podcast, Parenting Young Adults with Kimm and Torra. Thank you for joining us today. Today, we have a number of topics following up, of course, from our last episode. And one of the first things we're going to do is we're going to have the pleasure of speaking with Torra's son
Yes.
about some of the police brutality issues that are occurring in America now.
Mhm.
Torra, do you want to introduce him?
He is my oldest child. He's my son, Steve, who attended Howard University, graduated from UDC with a degree in media, and he's master media, not just media. So, yeah, he's out in LA pursuing his writing, acting, and modeling career. And he's also a new father, which we're very proud of his baby girl.
And we're very pleased to have him. Let me admit Steve into the podcast now. Do you see him? Oh.
Hmm. Well, his screen. Hi,
Hi,
Bob.
Steve. How are you?
Hi.
Welcome.
Hey, what's up, ladies? How are you?
I'm
Great.
good.
Thank you so much for joining us today. We're so excited to have you with us.
Absolutely. I'm glad to be here. Thank you.
We really wanted to have you on, especially right now during all the current affairs that's been going on in our great
Great.
United States. And as you can see, your mother tried to do one of your numbers and get some curls and afro for this moment that we had today.
Okay.
We had this little
I thought
victory.
it looked cute too.
Thank you. The yellow for the, I don't remember if you remember the scene in The Wire when they threw the yellow paint on the police officer and he said, "Why yellow?" And he said, "It's a sign of war." So it's like, yeah, we're doing this thing today. But I'm so proud to have you on, and I can't wait to ask you several questions. But I'm going to let my dear friend Kim start off.
I have one question that I wanted to ask you, which may have changed a little bit now that we've had this verdict today. But the big question I have for you is what it feels like to be a Black man in America in light of everything that is going on with all of these police incidents that appear to be increasing in frequency now.
Oh, wait. So y'all actually have to update me on the verdict because I haven't turned on the news.
Oh yeah, he's in LA, 3 hours
Okay, well,
behind.
well,
So.
then let's let you answer first. Then we'll tell you the verdict and see if that changes how you feel.
Okay. Um, I mean, I think my mom has definitely provided me a sense of security so that being a Black man in America is different for me than probably most other Black men in America. Um, I have experienced racism, but on a minute level. And I feel like I've been surrounded by a number of people throughout my life growing up that have been of non-Black influence that have influenced my life. And so growing up Black in America, I can definitely see coming from other members of my community how it can be hard. Most certainly walking down the street, going to the gas station, just going to grab a bag of Skittles. I mean, anything. It's you definitely get noticed. You definitely get seen. Police definitely uh, harass you or bully you in a number of ways that are just kind of unimaginable. But I definitely think we've had a point in our lives where change is necessary, and I mean not just with other races coming together to help the Black community, but within the Black community. It's time for us to help each other. And I mean, despite all the crimes that other people put on us, the things we do to each other does not help, and I think digs us a deeper grave than we are in already.
Okay.
Have you had any hands-on experience with racial profiling or feeling like you were wrongly uh, accused of anything in our judicial system as you were growing up or as an adult or anything? Do you feel like you were ever singled out, or do you think?
No, it was twice, maybe two times. I felt like I was singled out. One time, I was walking across the street in DC with a friend of mine. We had just gotten off work at a restaurant, and it was
Mhm,
pretty late. It was probably like around 10 o'clock at night,
mhm,
and we were walking across the street to this 7-Eleven in DC,
mhm,
and this the girl who I just so happened been walking with was not like a romantic partner of mine at all, but we just so happened were holding hands
Mhm.
as we were walking across the street. And she is a white girl.
Okay.
And a cop came into the 7-Eleven that we went in. Mind you, we had already been in the 7-Eleven, got our items, and had proceeded to check out. We were actually on our way out the door from the line. And then these two cops came into the 7-Eleven and started to ask us why we crossed the street without the crosswalk sign on, because it's jaywalking or something like that.
Mhm.
And mind you, we were just saying we had just got off work. It was really late at night. There was no one on the road. And so we just kind of looked both ways and crossed. And normally it's never usually an issue, especially on U Street in DC at
Oh,
night
okay.
when there's like no one on the street. There hasn't been a problem, at least in the 10 years I've lived in DC. But nonetheless, he ends up not being pleased with our answer. And he goes, "That's the answer you're going to give?" And then we go, "We're not entirely sure what you want us to say." And then he goes, "All right, you're under arrest or whatever, blah, blah, blah." And I immediately just pulled out my cell phone and started recording. And he didn't end up arresting me after I started recording because I just felt like it was just illegal. It was just
So he was
wrong.
trying
It
to
was just like,
arrest you
one,
for
if I
jaywalking?
committed an illegal act of jaywalking, you
Mhm.
should have stopped me in the act of jaywalking. You had ample time to come in to address the issue while I was in the 7-Eleven for several minutes. And then on top of that, he came into the store to try and address this particular crime he says I committed, and didn't even tell my the person who I was with that they committed the same crime. We were holding hands when that happened. So it was like, I'm getting in trouble, but she isn't. And so I ended up getting I think it was like a $10 jaywalking ticket or something
It
like
sounded like you said it was
Ooh.
more than one police. Was there more than one with
that. Yeah, that
that
was more than one.
approached you? And the other one didn't say anything, as in,
Nah, the other one was white.
and he didn't stop him or correct him and say this is ridiculous.
Nah,
It just went along with it as if it was okay.
yeah.
See, that's the problem I have. That's the problem. It can't be, witnessing one thing happen and no one speak up. I mean, this
Two
is
Caucasian officers. These are two
One
Caucasian.
was one was black, one was Caucasian.
And
that
which
makes it
one
even worse.
confronted you?
The black officer.
Of course.
Are you kidding?
Of course.
Hmm.
Did you feel like what I'm feeling, like he was trying to prove himself to this Caucasian officer? Because that's what I'm feeling.
I don't know. I mean, honestly, sometimes those things just become so ridiculous. I try not to think so deep into it and just let it go. Like
You feel
that's why I
comfortable
didn't.
about
That's
your
why I
other?
didn't pursue anything beyond it at that point. It was just, I mean, the anger and rage that comes with it is just not worth it.
Hmm.
You both felt anger and rage, or just you?
No, we both did. We both were upset. I mean, my friend was upset and said if I did go to court, she would go with me. You know what I mean? Like it was a lot. I don't know.
That is a lot to have to deal with
Trauma.
unnecessarily for not doing anything
For
other
crossing the
than,
street.
well, for being an employee who now wants to go have a snack. I mean, you're just
Right.
living your life, That's crazy.
And it's like you try to protect your children from the world, but how can you protect them from law enforcement when everything you've taught them is if you're in trouble or if you need help, call the police, try not to,
Not anymore. I'm not teaching anybody that anymore. That's for sure. Um, yeah, that's a lot. So the verdict, are we ready to tell him the verdict? The
yeah,
verdict is guilty on all three counts. Can
Oh
you believe
wow.
it?
Yes.
All
Yes.
three. Yes,
Man.
praying hand emojis. I'm telling you,
Yes.
I
They did that
Finally.
so that people didn't riot.
oh, hey, I was thinking of that too. I mean, my face is still swollen from crying so many tears because I had already braced myself. When I saw all the barriers going up, I
At
thought this was
4:30. At
Yeah,
4:30.
no, I thought he was gonna get away with it too.
yeah.
I did.
I
And
think that was
I looked at his face and I was like, oh, you're so shocked, aren't you? You're the one they're going to sacrifice. You didn't
Yep.
think it was going to happen, did you?
Yep. Yeah, I saw that face too, and I was really upset because I thought maybe, you should drop your head in shame or put your face in your hands or look at the jury like, why me? I really didn't mean it. And I saw nothing other than,
Yeah, like, oh, so this is what we're doing?
yeah. So it's like, we'll get you on
Mm.
appeal. Don't get too happy. You're like, okay. So this fight might not be over.
Steve, that's the one question I wanted to ask you because I
Mhm.
just think that you're in a unique position given everything that's going on. And I don't like to put you young men on the spot. I asked my son to call in too, and I was just going to ask him that one question so you're not on the spot. But Torra, is there anything else you wanted him to weigh in on?
I absolutely do. There was another case this week where there's a 13-year-old boy who was shot. Mr. Wright, young Mr. Wright, was shot and killed. And of
Mhm.
course, they showed us a video that said, "Oh wow, he could have had a gun." I understand the police officer rushing to judgment, but then there's this still where he's holding his hands up and clearly he tried to abide by whatever the police officer at 13-year-old. Yes, he was wrong for being out at 2 o'clock in the morning. Yes, he was wrong for wanting to, I guess, have, be affiliated with a gang or join a gang. I don't want to even get down that part because now I'm victimizing the victim. So I want to be able to just say, when you see young men like that in the world that you're ready to start raising kids. We're kind of done, but we're not done raising our children, but you're ready to start bringing up a new generation. How do you feel knowing a 13-year-old is not even safe to comply with the police and you're ready to
I
start your
mean,
family?
there are children younger than that who have been
Mhm.
penalized and victimized by law enforcement. Like, have you been watching the news? Like, I mean, it's you hear these stories now, and they happen so often that it's made so many people desensitized to them.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
it's like, I mean, I heard the story. I didn't really look more into it because it's just another story of somebody being shot by the cops, and it's
Oh,
just like it's just, I mean, like at the end of the day, we either gonna have an all-out war or our government is gonna actually step in and help and do something. But in the meantime, the only thing we can do is just try to be as safe as possible and not do the things that the cops, immediately put red flags on us for. But I mean, I definitely think I mean, I have a daughter. I mean,
mhm.
it's gonna be hard bringing her up, but at the same time, I just feel like I have to evolve with the trauma and learn from it and let her know how to deal with it as she's getting older. Because I mean, it's just like, when will it end? It's black and brown boys are always dying on TV, on the video, on the news. So me getting upset about it every single time I see it isn't helping. And it's also just affecting me in a physically negative way that I just don't want to be anymore, unfortunately.
Are you sure this is not your son? He sounds like you.
I mean, I'm loving every word he's saying, and I
Almost
agree
the
with
same
you.
exact stuff.
It's so important to protect yourself and to not allow whatever they're doing to have the negative impact that I think is actually intended. So I'm really
Mhm.
glad that you're
'Cause
able
I
to kind of
stress.
step back and
I
do that.
stress so much. I want to bubble wrap every kid, especially every black kid. I want to bubble wrap you all and protect you all, and I know I can't. So my next question is more so: are your friends? Do you have any friends that And I would have loved to bring Palmer on to get his opinion. Hopefully he'll come on soon. And how do you all feel like we can do this as a family, as a black family, white family, bringing together? What can we do to 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 fix this or begin to fix this? Because this has been going on forever. What can we?
Um, Parents, adults, like real adults, people like people, I guess you can't really like vet someone's maturity level, but I would hope anyone over like 45
Mm-hmm.
has some sort of maturity level.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that all adults over 45, parents over 45, need to seriously take control over the world again. Because right now it's just being ran by a bunch of kids. Kids are running the world. Kids are being paid millions of dollars to influence more kids to just cause more chaos. And it's just like, at the end of the
Never
day,
heard this
it's not
before.
entertainment anymore. It's just making money off of people destroying their lives and further generations.
Thank you.
And it's just enough. Enough is enough. Like, kids need to stop being paid millions of dollars for making these cheesy, sleazy videos. I mean, if someone is going to be paid, then an adult needs to be paid this amount, and then a child needs to aspire to be making this when they get older. They shouldn't be like, twerking at 14, making millions of dollars on TikTok. It
Thank
just
you
doesn't make
so
any
much.
sense. It's just so weird to me. But yeah, I mean, like, if adults would actually be adults and not let their kids bully them and parent them, then yeah, the world would be a lot better place. You know, like kids shouldn't be running around doing whatever the heck they want to do. And
I'm
that's what
not
is
about it.
happening around the world. So
That is
there's no type of discipline.
Very proud of
so
you.
true. And I am so glad to hear a young man of another generation have that kind of mature. That's actually a very mature
Yeah.
viewpoint. And I think that that's wonderful. There is another thing, a little bit off topic, that we had discussed in our last episode about white people moving into Black neighborhoods. And I was expressing my viewpoint on that. And
Mhm.
your mom suggested that we ask you about that because she said you previously had made a comment when you were living in DC that Black people
Yes.
don't rob white people,
Say that one more time.
that Black people don't rob white people in the inner city.
Okay.
And I wanted to know what that meant.
Well, statistically, I don't know how true that is. That was purely based on observation. That particular statement I made, and that particular statement was made because living in um, Northwest DC. I mean, it's you can't really say that that was a bad part of DC. Everyone
No,
knows
not at
that
all.
DC has its parts, and I'm not going to name those right now.
Mhm.
But the area that I live in wasn't necessarily a bad part of DC, but it had its sort of gang criminal moments, and they were mostly from young kids that are just trying to, live a street life. But a lot of times the crimes you see that were happening against members of our own community that were in college at Howard University.
Yeah.
Our cars being broken into, our laptops being stolen, homes being broken into, all of their collegiate items being taken away. And these are happening from Black students. And the
And
people who
one
are
of your
committing the
one of your
crimes are Black
classmates was
people.
killed. Remember?
Yeah, I remember.
Yeah. That
Um,
was very
I mean,
sad.
I even had some stuff stolen out of my car once, but like, I would say I moved out of DC about 2 years ago, but my last about 5 years in DC, when you notice the neighborhood kind of changing and I
Mhm.
guess you could say gentrifying for lack of a better term, when you see a lot of more white people coming into the neighborhood, um, the crimes were still happening to the Black people. Meanwhile, you can see like white people just enjoying the full benefits of this new neighborhood, new beautiful neighborhood, walking late at night, walking dogs late at night without a fear in the world. Because like when you first went to Howard University, one of the things they tell you was when I went, and this was several years ago back in 2007, granted, they might still say this to their students, but they would say when you walking out at night, walk in pairs or more. Do not walk by yourself. Like that was among the top three things that I heard walking into Howard. It wasn't welcome to Howard. We have this great this. It was welcome to Howard. This is what you're going to do to live. And it was like, wait, what? So, I mean, it was, just having that sort of having that, I guess, anxiety, the fact that any given moment I walking out of my house to class or anything, somebody could do something harmful to me was just, it was a terrible feeling to have. And then as the years progress and you see other people moving into the neighborhood and them doing the things that you dreamed that you could do because you feared for your safety is just, I don't know, it's kind of an uneasy feeling about that.
And it's
But
disheartening. And it
yeah,
really points to the fact of we need to find some self-love, some unity,
exactly.
self-respect, all of those kinds of things. Because in a perfect world, well, in a perfect world, there wouldn't be any crime at all. But in a
Mhm.
better world, if one were going to commit a crime, they would not do it against members of their own race. They would do it
Right.
against outsiders. So it's exactly opposite of how,
Mhm.
you know, it should be.
And I also think that uh, when it comes to members in our community, and sort of, I guess, doing things new to progress their lives. There's a lot of members in our community who come from low income or poor neighborhoods where they don't have access to the things that some of us have access to, or even white people have access to, where they can get a job that's paying for them to live a better life. And a lot of times, members in our community tend to do things, tend to turn to things that make them quick money that are considered illegal. And I'm not necessarily condoning those things or blaming anyone for what they have to do to survive, but I also think that it's important for us in the Black community who have learned other ways of making a living, to be able to regurgitate that back into the community, but also being able to have those members of the community be open to those changes so that they aren't stuck in just being stuck in repeating the same things over and over again, living the street life, et cetera, et cetera. And not to say that that's, the only thing that we do, but, it's a common stereotype that tends to pull our community down. It's drugs and, gang affiliated lives.
And so that just comes right back around full circle to unity. We need
Mhm.
for us to come together, for those of us who have learned better to share that with others
Mhm.
who don't know better, to create opportunities and to
Mhm.
allow those young folks to come in to our businesses and to our operations and participate and learn
Mhm.
new things that they can take back. We have a lot of work to do. And at the beginning and the end of the day, I think it
Yeah,
starts with us.
most definitely.
And can I just, I'm not trying to move too far off topic, but I just remember this conversation you and I had when you were at Howard and you were about to go to UDC. And you said, and I was very proud. I'm very proud that my child went to a historically Black college. I'm very proud of you for that. And I remember you saying historically Black colleges prepare you for life because of the struggle that goes on in the Black college. I never got into it with you and asked you what was the struggle from Howard to UDC, because you thrived at Howard, but you soared at UDC. What was the two difference of the colleges, being though they're both in DC? I mean, can you just tap on that
I mean,
real
I can only talk about my experience at the time, but my experience was also over a decade ago. So
quick?
how the school is operating now is probably a lot different. And so I don't want to speak too much about my experience because the time was such a long time ago.
Mhm.
But I mean, I just felt
Like
like at the
you're such an old man. It's such a long
Oh,
time ago.
bless his
But
heart.
I
Bless his
understand what you
heart.
um, but I didn't connect academically at Howard at the scene. I connected on a social level with a lot of things there, with on a campus level, but not necessarily academically. And what they were offering me academically just wasn't fitting my energy. And so it kind of didn't lead me into where I wanted to be led to when it came to the success of being in college. And so that's when I took a year off. And then when I went to UDC, UDC was great, but I think I also went back in with a focus to get it done. And I
Okay.
think that also helped as well too.
And you also pledged. You pledged at
I
Howard,
put the
right?
Howard
Okay.
What you
Alpha Phi
pledge?
Omega, Alpha Phi Omega, National Service Fraternity,
Oh,
Zeta
okay.
Phi chapter.
Because
Yeah.
you do know I'm a Delta, right?
Okay, I see. Yeah, Alpha Phi Omega is blue and gold.
Okay. And you're
Okay, Delta, I see you.
hmm?
I said, okay, Delta, I see
Yes.
you.
And so your degree is in media?
Mass media film production.
Oh, that's what my son is studying. He initially, at my suggestion,
Mhm,
started off in business and he just really wasn't enjoying it and said,
mhm,
he wanted to change his major. And I think it's just important for people to do things that resonate with them. And now
mhm.
he really loves it. So he's going to have a degree from an HBCU
Most
in
definitely, yeah. That's good.
yeah, so that's
Good.
really nice.
You definitely do. I mean, I think especially when you're at college, you definitely need. It's so weird because when you leave high school, I think everyone, it's kind of like an expectation that you go into college sort of knowing what you want to do.
Yeah.
The thing is the first year in college is a year where you don't know what in the world you want to do, even if you think you know what you want to do. I mean, a lot of times people change their majors and stuff. And that's why even before I went to college, I told my mom, I said, Mom, maybe I should take a year off to figure things out because I'm not quite sure. And then there was this whole hassle about that. I'll let her tell you about that on another time.
But you know
But
what?
but
Taking
anyways,
that year after you went to Howard may have been a better option because then when you came back, you understood the urgency, the difference between what you could do with a degree, what you could do without. I don't have anything to say about the gap year part. I'll let her tell me that as you
oh
said.
yeah, no. I mean, well, it's just like well, in my experience, I just feel like at the time there was a lot of physical work for an I had to work hard, it seemed like, to get the education that I thought was just supposed to be given to me. Like
Okay.
I thought it was just a matter of going to class, get the knowledge, take your test, and continue on. You know what I mean? Just like a evolved form of high school.
Well, I mean, yeah.
College comes with a lot more than just college. You know what I mean? There's life, there's bills, there's separating from your parents, separating from being home, the social aspect of life, learning who you are. You know what I mean? Because when you're in high school, I guess you kind of leave thinking, I'm an adult now, I'm ready to go. No, you're not. There's so much you learn between high school and the age of 30. And even in the beginning of your 30s, that's just like, I'm not yet grown. You know what I mean? And so it's a lot. You know what I mean? I think that I think it's funny how people kind of rush into college after high school. And I think that's the point I was getting to. I think everyone should take like 6 months, a year. If there was like a gap between high school and college where you can just put your mind in a place where you are prepared for that next stage in your life, I feel like that year is also like a crucial year where your parents can teach you some of the fundamentals of things that they just braze over in high school, like economics, taxes. You know what I mean? There are certain things that in school that aren't detailed explained that you kind of learn on your own, and it's confusing and painful at the same time. But I just feel like a lot of things I learned in life would have been so much easier to have been taught in school. Just prepare me on, because there's so much in school that I learned that I'm not using in
It's
life.
totally worthless. Yeah, I think that I actually, yeah, agree with that, that we have an education system that is, you don't want me to get started on how it's indoctrination and misguided and all of that. But there are a lot of things we are taught that are totally worthless, and so many things we need to know that we're never taught. But I will say to you that you seem to be very mature to me, and that other children may not benefit from a gap year in the way that you may have benefited. Because sometimes when a child is less focused and they take that year off, they get wrapped up in all kinds of things
That's
that
what I
never
thought.
allow them to make it back to
Mhm.
the path that they were on. But probably in your case, it would have been different.
Well, see, again, I don't think that gap year should be a year of just break. I don't think it should be a year of laziness. I think it should be definitely a year where, and I'm not saying it has to be a thing, but I think that because a lot of kids will go to college their first year undecided, and then you've just spent $15,000. I'm one of these cases on a year of college where you had an undecided major, and that year does not add to your major as far as the credits you need to graduate.
But
It's
it should,
$15,000,
it
but
should,
it doesn't, because when you
because your
change your
first year,
major,
you're
when you
only
change your
taking basic courses. You're gonna have to take English, math, basic science, social sciences. That's what.
right, I mean, you'll eventually have your basic courses, but there's only so many basic courses to take for the entire year. You're undecided.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
you can knock out those credits in the first semester, but you're still undecided the second semester because you can't change your major until the next year.
See,
Like
but I
my first year was pretty much wasted on undecided major.
in my
Also,
vision,
I couldn't audition for the theater program because they only allowed you to audition. It was like once a year, and if you didn't get in, you couldn't audition until the following year. The thing is about my first year is that I didn't even get to audition because when I got accepted into Howard, it was after the audition dates. So I was just an undecided major for a full year because I was waiting to audition for their theater program, of which is a 5 year 4 or 5 year program, one of them.
Wow.
And that was just going to add on to the first year. I was already there.
Okay. So that's a
Yeah.
special
So
circumstance because
that also made me think like, kids need to not waste money on any years of college where they're not actively studying what they want to do.
yeah. Well,
well,
So
my theory was an idle mind is a dangerous mind. So I wanted you amongst your peers that were like-minded. I wanted you to be amongst people who were thriving in the same thing that you wanted to, education, theater, media. I wanted you amongst that. I didn't want you out in the world that I grew up in, which I didn't see any positivity. If I had maybe a few other role models that I could have said, okay, he can handle that, or I can raise a child and handle seeing him out here in the world, exploring the world, getting it together, that probably would have been okay. But I didn't have that. Only role model I knew were educators and people who had gone off to college or were in college, which is, your Aunt Talisa and her whole family, and your godfather, Uncle Chris. All of those people were already educated. And I was like, no, this is the group I want to push you in. So that was where I always was when it came to college and you. I needed you to follow them. Don't I don't know the other, I didn't know that life, but I did know the life where I came from, which didn't have anything worth pushing you or saying, okay, go and explore this. That's not what I wanted for you. What I wanted is exactly what you're speaking of now, which is being able to see both sides. So when you, I'm assuming if you have more children, you'll be able to understand them and you'll be able to teach them in that gap year if they want to take one. I wouldn't have been able to show you the world that you can see now. I would have.
Well, for me, having a gap year was because of my experience at Howard.
Okay.
Had I had
Hindsight?
see
Does that
you
mean
explain. Are we out of time?
no.
Oh, okay. Okay. Sorry, I had
Yeah, I
a
got a beep too. It's okay.
okay. So like, me and you have a difference of opinion
Mm-hmm.
when it comes to how I started off my collegiate,
Mm-hmm.
um, I guess, studies.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because I got accepted into a different college that I really wanted to go to, and
Yeah.
like you just said, you wanted for me what you wanted for me, and
Mm-hmm.
have this experience,
Mm-hmm.
which in turn led me to the experience that I had, which was not necessarily the experience that I wanted.
Right.
So for me, my experience learning from that is that one, I do want the best for my daughter and I want her to have these certain experiences, but I also have to recognize what is going on in her life and around her life and what she's going to want for her life too. And I have to respect some of these things and how I can nurture them and help them go better and help them fall along the line of what I would like as well. I
Mm-hmm.
can't just say, this is what I want for you and this is what will happen,
Right.
because that's what daddy says. So
That is
now,
so much on point because I'm always saying that I recognize that my children have their own journey and it is not my role to impose my stuff on their journey. It is my role to help them navigate that journey as smoothly as possible. And that means letting you change your major, letting you pick the
mhm.
university that you want to go to, and being there to try to help you through it. I just cut you off, but in your mom's
No,
defense,
no, no, yeah.
I mean, just on this one little part, I did just come back from a trip from visiting my children down south where they both attend college. And I said literally to my daughter, I am so proud of you both. And I am so happy to see you here with other young people doing the kinds of things you are doing instead of having to be out in the world with adults and all kind of people on a different path. So I understand her mindset about wanting, because to me, college, and I went away to college to Wisconsin for my 4 years. So I get all of that kind of thing you're talking about. But to me, college is an opportunity for our kids to kind of be on their own while they're still on the path we want for them. So they're kind of under our supervision. And it's like a good transition from high school where you're fully under our
Right.
supervision to adulthood where you're very much more independent. That's what
And I
I.
definitely think college is necessary. And when I say this in the aspect, like my daughter has a choice, she doesn't have a choice on whether or not she's going to college. She's going to college. She's going to college. Now, what she wants to do in college, I think it's definitely important for me to be a part of her life and figure that out leading up to what her interests are and stuff like that. Because having the experience that I've had, I can be able to help put her on the path she wants to be on, because I just know the avenues to get there. So, I mean, we have some time before she obviously gets to that age. But
Oh, it
yeah,
won't be that long. Trust me, it goes by really fast. We'll wake up tomorrow and she'll be in high school like you all were. But
that's too bad.
just to bring light to this one situation, you did attend a Catholic high school, and
Mhm.
I wanted you to be so much more. I wanted you to know both sides of culture. I wanted you to know that side of the Catholic high school that you attended, but I also wanted you to know the cultural side of historically um, at Black educators. That only I think any Black university could have given you that, but the one I knew that we could afford, or the one that was closest to us, was Howard. I even wish me and Victoria would just attend one. I mean, even just I just think anyone. I mean, not just Black kids. I think everyone should attend a historically Black college. I think there's something there that can be learned, that can teach the world that we live in now about what could overcome I still think we have Jim Crow all the way up until present day. And I just feel like if everyone could attend a historically Black college and learn the things that I learned just investigating and documenting historically Black colleges and what they teach there, because I did attend Sojourner Douglas, and of course it wasn't historically Black, but it was a Black college. And I just remember having jaw-dropping moments every day going, how come I didn't know this? How come I didn't know this? And I wanted my kids to know that. And I feel like you got it. I do feel like me and Victoria has skipped it, but I think you got it. I think you can live on both sides of the fence and know life. And I just think that if you can't learn it, like Kimm, her family knows that. You know what I mean?
I did blackety black black, and you're gonna know about being Black if you're raised by me. There's no question.
She can only say it better than I. She can say, I can't articulate that. That's exactly what I'm trying to say out my mouth. I wasn't able to do that because I would be faking it with you. That you knew I didn't grow up like that. I grew up, I was pretty much the only Black kid in my elementary school all the way up until I almost got into high school. So, it wasn't one of those things where it was even in my neighborhood. So I would have been faking it trying to teach you Black culture when I didn't even grow up as a Black cultural woman. So I thought that the college would be better fit for you, which that was only to appease me. And you're right. I probably should have let you go to Franklin Pierce, and that was the college that he got put. I mean, I was very proud of him, and he knows that. I hope he knows that he got accepted there. And it was very expensive, very nice school up in New Hampshire. I'll never forget it. See, Steve? And I was very proud of you, but I was just like, you don't need any more years of this. So if you wanted to go there for your master's or your doctorate, I'd be like, yay. But I just wanted fresh out of Catholic school. I wanted you to learn some culture.
I understand that. And I certainly, and I think, Steve, hopefully you don't learn it maybe as much as we did, but parenting is a trial and error. You don't really know. It doesn't really go exactly as you hoped. You just do the best you can. You make the best decisions with the information you have at the time and pray that it all works out well. So it's not easy,
Right. I understand.
Are we letting him off the hook? I don't want you guys to be too much on the spot, so that if we want you to come back, you'd be happy to come back.
Definitely, he's coming back, because we got to talk about
get out of there.
We got to talk about discipline. I want to know his hands on how he's going to parent his sons in the future and his daughters in the future with punishment, discipline, taking away things, spankings. I want to know all of that. So you have to
spare the rod.
Oh, you gonna spare the rod?
Spoil the child.
That's why we have to have him back on. Maybe things will change by the time he comes back on to answer that question.
No, I've experienced too many rods. No rods.
You experienced too many. Okay, well,
we'll let him tell it.
When y'all do your discipline episode, we'll go.
If he had it his way, he had to walk to the tree and get the switch and clean it off. And
see, she's telling you right now.
That never happened. That never happened. That was my grandfather's story.
Okay.
Well, thank you. I think that you're such a mature young man. I am so proud of who you are. And I think that you're exactly the kind of young man we need in our community. And I really appreciate you coming on. And anytime, you're always welcome to come.
Thank you for having me, ladies.
I'm so proud of you, Steve. So proud of you. I love you to pieces. Thank you for coming on.
Of course. Y'all have a great rest of your show. And thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Love you.
Love you more.
That was so
fight back tears, girl. That boy making me proud of him.
You have raised such a wonderful young man. I guess my young man is not going to make it. We'll see. We still have another maybe half hour left. And if not, he'll be coming home soon. So I'll be able to tell him to just pop in and sit down and say something. So, but you did a great job with him. And I get it. You know, we don't always know the right answer and the right thing to do. So we do the best. And some of who he is because he went there and had that experience, and he may not have been that same person if he had gone somewhere else. So, you know, you did what you knew to do. and actually
I
it took
made an executive parenting decision on that one, and I'm never going to regret that because I saw what I didn't like about a person that I loved, and I was like, oh, no, 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 no. We're going to have to stop this right here. You are not privileged. You are spoiled, but you are not privileged. And we need to let you know what you have and what you don't have. And I felt like that avenue I was sending him on was going to teach him that. I felt like there's someone, and I'm going to say there's a delusional person that's in Congress right now. And I look at him and I'm just thinking, and I had to do my homework on him to find out, why are you like this? Like, how can you agree with this what's going on right now, and you're not speaking out in volumes? And then I said, I found out he had some patterns that I would, as a mom, if I was his mom, I would have been like,
You know
okay, no.
what? It doesn't only come from that. At first, I want to say that
Mhm,
even though Steve experienced some difficulty with the path you set him on, at the end of the
mhm,
day, it turned out great. And that's
right,
what the best
mhm,
that we can hope for. But
mhm,
I would say that with that kind of thing you're talking about now with the Congress
mhm.
member, that has to do with self-hate, in my opinion, because Clarence Thomas is from the sticks and he has that same kind of foolishness, pull yourself up by your
Yeah,
bootstrap and all this
yeah,
kind of stuff that if
yeah,
it had applied to him, who knows where he'd be now.
yeah.
So there's a thing with Black people. And I
He's
mean,
one of them.
again, you can't, I personally am not mad at them, but it's the constant repetitive
You're
programming.
not mad at them? You're not
No,
mad? I'm
because
mad at them
it's
because I feel
because
like they're more dangerous than the person we predict could hurt us. I
I
feel like
do
they're
think that
more
they're
dangerous.
very dangerous. I do
Mhm.
think they're very dangerous. I am very disappointed. And it's
Okay.
very hard when they're in a position like Supreme Court Justice or Congress member
Mhm.
because they have the ability to
Well, I'll say
impact
Tim Scott.
us.
If you said Clarence Thomas, I was thinking Tim Scott, and
Okay.
he's the senator, and I think the brother could have been a beautiful man on this planet because he's smart as all get out. But the things he roots for and he doesn't speak out against just breaks my heart because I'm like, you in such a high position, and I feel like somewhere during his upbringing, his rearing, that it got missed out on. Like, brother, come
You're a
on.
brother. You're
Yeah,
actually a brother. And I
yeah.
think the self-hate, and the reason I try not to be angry with them is because really they have merely succumbed to the programming that has been ingrained, instilled, directed toward us
Mhm,
really since the day we're born. And those
mhm,
of us who could step out of that are truly blessed because most of us, a lot of those people your son was talking about, those ones getting into drugs, acting out, a
mhm.
lot of that stems from not really liking who you are because the dominant society has told you that you are something bad, then you're acting out in ways that are self-defeating. And whereas if you were able to love yourself and who you are, you would seek better for yourself. That's just my opinion.
I think that is one aspect, but then I think it's also the glamorization. One of the other things he was talking about. I think we've glamorized bad behavior so much that nobody even feels like it's bad behavior. They call it living your best life, doing you, and it's like
Which I remember I was like, I need people to stop saying that
you
because
need
some
them.
of
And I
this
just
stuff
saw
is
that.
just
I
not
saw someone
real.
say that on TikTok right after you said it, and I was gonna call you and be like, "Uh-oh." Someone literally had just posted seconds after you. I mean, literally after we got off the podcast last time, and someone's like, "You know what? I'm so over everyone talking about they're living your best life. It's no much that much best than your in a whole lifetime." And I'm like, she
Yeah,
just said this, but
yeah.
I get it. I get it. It's not that
But
much.
I think the aspect that you're talking about perhaps is being raised in a non-Black environment and then maybe adopting those viewpoints that are adverse to the best interests of Black
You
people.
always can articulate what my brain thinks, but it doesn't come out my mouth like that because I'm always trying to tread lightly so I don't and not necessarily hurt anyone's feelings, but think that I'm saying something that I'm not, because I'm not saying that I'm not proud of him graduating from a Catholic school and getting a great education. I am not. That is something I'm very proud of. It's just that the the way you just said it is exactly what I'm feeling,
All the
adapting
other
certain
parts that go with it.
characteristics and ideals that just don't benefit you and your children and your future generation. if you don't know both sides. You can have one side, but you also have to know the other side. So when he said a lot of this comes from kids who are just raised in a way where they don't know a better way, so they choose the easier way or they choose the street life, made me so proud and almost had me in tears because I was like, that's what I wanted you to see. They're wrong. We're not pacifying that behavior, but I want you to understand sometimes people only know what they know. You know what I
And
mean?
why
And
they're
to do
doing what
better
they're doing.
than what
That's
they're
a
doing,
really good
but
point.
you don't see that side. God forgive me. I'm not mean to be teary. I was just so proud of him because
He
that's
did a
what
great
you know what I
job.
mean?
He is such a
Um,
great young man. Yeah.
because I feel like when they speak of us, and I say they, meaning the Caucasian race, sometimes speak of us, they don't understand. Like, are you kidding me? Like, we're products of environment that were never taught anything else because of you, you
Mm.
know? And because of you putting your foot on our necks and
Mm.
not allowing us to rise. And even when we do rise, you snatch it from us as we can give you all kind of receipts. You know, we become something else. So
Mm.
don't keep saying, look at them, that's the bad guy, because that's not always true. And when he can say, this is this and this is that, it makes me so proud because that's all I ever wanted him to see. I don't want him to tell someone, you would get a job if you would pull your pants up and cut your hair and speak like this. I want you to understand that person might not have been taught this. So don't talk to him like that.
Mhm.
Teach him. You know, I always say it's not what you say, it's how you say it. And I felt like that's where Bill Cosby turned off a lot of young
Oh
kids
yeah. Oh
because he
yeah.
came
He
at them with
really
that.
went the
And
wrong way with
when
that.
did you not see both sides? You supposed to have known both sides. You were in the struggle. When did you forget?
And so even those of us who agreed with what he was recommending were turned off by his approach and how he
Absolutely.
was going about it. And the
Absolutely.
other thing that I wanted that occurs to me is that this is part of the reason why integration was not so great for us.
Mhm.
Because when we were segregated, the lawyers, the doctors, the teachers
Mhm.
lived in the Black community. So you saw them at the store, you saw them on the sidewalk or at church on Sunday. We were
That's
all
right.
there together, and you had a role model, someone that you could aspire to be like. But
Mhm.
once we were allowed to integrate, then all those people, I don't live in the hood. All those people, you don't live in the hood. All those
Mhm.
people who have the ability to show you better, to be better, and to be a
Yeah.
role model are now out of the community, and all that's left are the people who don't know.
You
So
don't
it
know.
just begins to perpetuate itself. So,
So you see
you
both
know,
sides of what I was striving for him because I thought the same thing. I said to myself, I said, um, there's so many people who I've heard our president, President Barack Obama, um, after he got out of office, just poured gasoline on this man, and it hurt me to the core because these were supposedly pro black people saying he did nothing for us,
what did he
and
do?
I was so
What did
angry.
he do, Torah? What did
But
he do?
but it was how heavy the head that wears the crown. You know, you're the first, and to be a ceiling breaker for the first, you have to do things a certain way so you can make it easy for the next person to come in your
There's not going
path.
to be any next when you, well, I'm not going to say that, but not
Yeah, no,
time
I
soon.
definitely believe there's going to be a next and
Not
very
time
soon
soon.
and very soon I believe that it's going to be a next. But I feel like if you go in there and the world is looking at you, waiting for you, and we're praying on your downfall, and you give them what they asked for, then it's like, oh, okay, now we don't have to ever do that. We'll put things in
So
place
there
to make
was
sure.
absolutely nothing he could do. Like now we see that there are bills being put forth to provide reparations to Native Americans,
Mhm.
all this money being set forth to address Asian hate crimes, still nothing for us. And when we had a person in there who had an opportunity to do something for us, nothing was done. I just am at a loss to know.
I
I don't know.
feel like I feel
I
like
don't
he
really
did
follow
as
politics
much.
that much, so I'm going
I
to
feel
just
like he
defer to
did as much as he could with the hands that they tied once again behind our back. I feel like they were people even on his side that was against him. They were Democrats who fought against certain things he
Oh, I agree.
wanted to do and needed to do. So I think he didn't complain about it enough. I think he didn't go out in front of the people and say, yo, no, I'm fighting for y'all, but I got these cats on my back that ain't letting me do jack, and y'all not voting midterm elections to get them out of office. So I got some help up in here. I feel like that's why I say how heavy the head that wears the crown, because he didn't, tell us, okay, what we do next. Okay, we voted for you. Now, what do we do next? It wasn't his responsibility. It was all of ours to say, okay, yeah, we got him in office. Now let's put pieces of this chess piece together so we can get the victory all the way. And we didn't do that. We didn't elect sheriffs. We didn't elect judges. We didn't elect certain senators and congressmen. We didn't come through for him. And then once it was all said and done, we blamed him for everything we didn't get, but we didn't do that much ourselves. So that's why I got so angry when our pro-black people said, he didn't do anything. It's like, come on, dude, the same person saying he didn't do anything. What did you do when he was trying to do something?
I don't
Because
see him the way you see him.
mm-hmm.
And when he first ran for office, I took, because back then I used to vote all the time,
Mm-hmm.
and I took my children
Mm-hmm.
to the polls with me.
As I do. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I specifically made sure I did so that time so that they could be a part
Mm-hmm.
of that process of voting for a Black man. But I don't see Barack Obama the way you and many Black people who just revere him. I don't see him that way. But
I feel like he was our first.
I'm not big on
He's
politics,
a
so I'm
great
not really
example
gonna,
of our first.
no.
I feel like he was an amazing example of our first. I just feel like now the second one got to get better. The third one got to get even better. But I felt like for our first, you couldn't have asked for a better man to shake his hand. I mean, I
Things that
just
he
felt like,
did, some of the things he did, really, I am not on board with. But
well,
oh,
a lot of people are. I
a
have
lot of
family members who didn't like the White House lit up with rainbows. I got family members who didn't like all the
well,
rights.
he was very supportive of the LGBTQ community. He certainly did some things to protect and support them,
Mhm.
which I didn't see him doing comparable things for our race. But I mean, he went over and killed some people in Africa that are claimed to be dictators who really were in favor of and helping their people. They're just things he did that I'm like, what are you thinking? But hey,
Muammar Gaddafi,
that's not,
first
it's
right.
not political podcast. We can agree to disagree. I don't totally, I mean, I do think that it was important that we did have a person with his skin color
Mhm.
in that position. So
Absolutely.
there's some
Absolutely.
benefit to it. I'm not a total
Mhm.
Barack Obama basher, but I
Mhm.
just don't think that he did the things that we wanted him to do. And certainly not even during his second term when you really have more freedom because you're not trying to come back. That's when people really start dishing it out, doing whatever, and he didn't. So, that's
And
okay.
I believe the second one will know better, will do better because they know better. And I feel like he laid out a good blueprint, trial and error, great blueprint for the next one to come in and say, okay, I'm not going to be afraid to speak more, my mind and say, a little bit more stern. I mean, I think Trump kind of laid that blueprint. I shouldn't even give anybody else credit for that, but
I mean,
I
he
think
surely came in doing what he wanted to do for his people, signing executive orders left and right. Joe Biden's really doing the same thing. They do what they want to do. And he should have, I don't have anything else to say about that. But, a lot of Black people love him so much. He's their permanent president. So,
mhm, mhm.
have at it if that's what one feels. I just don't feel that way.
Yeah, it's definitely it was a prideful thing for me to just to have that role model and such a good man, no scandals, because he could have easily had
That
some of
was
the
helpful.
scandals that the
That
past
was,
presidents have had. And I mean, I don't know if my son reveres him and loves him. I don't know, but I know for me, that was a guy that I can, say, if you want to be like somebody, be like that,
well,
you
I
want to
mean, I certainly at the beginning I bought the posters. There's still one in the basement and put them up. And
Mhm.
I mean,
I
on
did
some
too. I'm
level,
not gonna lie. I had my pictures all up too. I don't know what happened to
I
mine.
have some frame picture with him and
Mhm.
Mandela and all of that. So, I mean, I'm not saying that I'm totally against it, but I just, am not a big fan. Let's
Yeah,
say.
you don't go around campaigning, he was the greatest ever. I get it.
Mhm.
There's a lot of people that believe that, and I just, like
And
I
there are a
said,
lot of people just straight out bash him all the time.
right.
I guess we're all across the spectrum. So we actually, Steve actually stayed with us for quite a good amount of
Hmm.
time, and I think we're just like about 5 minutes away from being up to our hour.
Hmm.
So I would ask, what you would like to discuss for. Oh, something you asked me to remind you of the situation with your husband and the Buffalo Bills and the COVID shot.
Oh yeah, I sure did. So we definitely gonna have to talk about that. He ran away, so I can't ask
Just
him.
now he ran away?
Literally just ran
He's
away.
not gonna get on here, so he already
I'm gonna
said.
make him do it. I'm gonna make him do this because once my brother does it, he's definitely gonna probably want to be on it. And my brother's gonna answer some question Thursday. I just sent him his text message and let him know you got to get ready for Thursday. So
Okay, yeah,
uh,
I take it that Jordan's not gonna make it. He never did
well,
chime
it's
in.
gonna be plenty more times, and we definitely can't wait to. I can't wait to ask him some questions.
I want to ask
Definitely
him the
because
same
he's
thing I asked your son. Like,
in the
what does
college.
it feel like being a black male in this society right now, knowing everything that's going on? I really am curious to see how different black men feel
Mhm.
about that. So I definitely want to ask him that very
I
same
want to ask him
question.
about relationships because I'm noticing that the younger guys, the 20-year-olds,
He's
they're
not
not big on
Torah.
relationships anymore.
You know what? I let you obviously ask your son whatever you want to ask him, but with my children, I just tell them there's only going to be one or two questions, and then
Mhm.
you're off the hook because I don't want to put them on the spot. I want him to come talk about police brutality and how that affects him, but we have to figure out on another time if he wants to talk about relationships because
Yes,
what I
I want to know
want.
who's going to populate the earth. Like literally, these kids are all on TikTok talking about, "I'm good, I'm done." I'm like, wait, y'all, no. We used to talk about want to get married, have some kids, and have a family. Why are y'all so young and you already know at 20 that you're good? So
What do you
I
mean
was like,
they're good? They don't want to have kids?
they don't want to have kids or the relationship to have kids. Like, it's like they want to put in laws where if a woman well, not traps them, but if a woman gets pregnant, they have choices not to deal with these kids anymore. Like, this is
What do
the new
you mean the
generation.
men have a choice not to deal with the kids?
Men are wanting to, the young men, not older men, the younger men are wanting to put into law that if a woman, because there are women out here, we can't lie, that
That
will get
happens.
good
That happens.
student, college guy, look like he's going someplace and want to just spring a baby up on him. And they're like, well, if you do that after I told you I didn't want any children, well, here's the law saying I don't have to deal with this if you don't want me to. I mean, if I
Well,
don't want
I mean, in the first instance,
to. Mhm.
if you as a young man don't want any children, then take the precautions to ensure you don't have
See,
any.
that's what I want
That's
to
the
have the
first.
conversation about because
Well,
I
I'm
was
going to have that
thinking that.
conversation with Jordan, but um,
Ooh, I wish I
unless
was sitting in on
unless
it.
he chooses that he wants to talk about it. But I don't want them to be on the spot on those kinds of complicated issues. But we'll see. Maybe. I mean, my son's pretty mature for his age too. Maybe he wants to talk about it, but he have no problem
He's
saying, "Mom,
very, it's crazy because Mia was like, Mom, Jordan. And when she showed me, I was like, oh my God, yes, that's him.
oh,
She
you
was
didn't
like,
remember Jordan?
I remember. Yeah, oh my God, they were very close. Did he
They
tell
were
you?
good friends for a while. Yeah,
Yeah, they were very close. And I said, I didn't even know.
I
And she's like,
remember.
yeah, Mom, we were like thick as thieves. I was like, you sure were. So
Yeah.
then I was just like, okay, God, I can't wait to talk to him.
But if he doesn't want to talk about a thing, I'm gonna tell him in advance. He'll be like, no. But I know that he will tell us. I want to know because there is a concerted effort. Well,
Mhm.
there are multiple killings. They're being done for various reasons, but to me, there's a bit of a intensity that has
Mhm.
come about lately where it's happening so frequently. And I just want to know how it's
Does it make
affecting
you
our men.
sad or are you numb to it? Because
Does it
when
make
I
me
heard Steve
sad?
said he's numb to it, I think that's where I am too.
I'm not numb to it because I don't watch it. It makes
Oh,
me concerned. It makes me angry. It I feel some emotion when an individual's life is taken away. But what it really makes me feel is how much we need to figure out something to stop it. Like, I don't want to be asking them to please stop, please stop. I want us to figure out a way to make it cease. Something's just got to give here, and that's what
You
really.
think we need models? Like they have Reverend Al Sharpton, Jesse Jackson. They had the Nation of Islam, the Fruits of Islam. They had that era before us. But what do we have? Who do you think we need? Someone? Do you think you? I mean, because we always talk about Cardi and Megan and Jay Z and all the athletes, LeBron James, because I don't know any other ones. But we always talk about them. But do you think we
The
need
young
someone?
people have some people. They have Riza Islam. They have
Okay,
this guy named Young Pharaoh who YouTube just kicked off because he is so thorough.
I
They
fuck with
have
him.
Sister Soldier, which is
Mhm.
not exactly their generation.
Yeah.
I guess she's not what she used to be, though, is she? But there are activists and people out there. I think the thing is to embrace them. I'm not sure, actually. I'm going to pull back on that. I'm not sure what the answer is, but I know the same way your son came on here and was very mature. My son is younger than him, but
Mhm.
still mature for his age. I know there are a lot of sharp young people. And I think that one of the things we can do is to focus on those kind of people instead of, like he said, these young entertainers just out here exchanging their self-respect, morals, whatever, whatever, for a big pile of cash. And
Mhm.
maybe we're focusing on the wrong people in these younger generations. And there are certainly some people who can make a difference and make us proud and have some solutions and some suggestions that we might want to get on board with. But I don't know what the answers are, but I am always looking for them anytime whatever I think will work, buying black, anything that I think that I can do to contribute to making our race better, I just do it. I don't care if it affects two people. Like those videos I was doing before I went to Africa, I will do it because it's my job just to do whatever I can. And if every one of us did whatever we can, no matter how small or how big, we would get a momentum and see some change. That's what I think. But we also need some bigger solutions. I mean, I'm just a lot of the people that you mentioned, just I'm not impressed with. I'm not impressed with any Al Sharpton. I'm not impressed with Jesse Jackson, but we do need some people to galvanize us, people that we can get behind and push to the front and say, come on, talk the talk that motivate, because Black people are so spiritual. Talk that thing that's
That
going
would also
to.
be like a question I would love to ask Jordan too. If we do have leaders, would you all listen? If there was a leader that emerged with some good, literature about life and focus and journey and how to get to this promised land that we've been promised, would they listen? Because I feel like our generation, my grandparents definitely, but my mom generation, they had just started breaking from listening to the Al Sharptons and the I mean, they listen, but they weren't as into it as Martin Luther King and the Malcolm X's, which was my grandparents' era. They weren't really into it like that. And I just want to know if they do have leaders, are y'all willing to like?
We give them some real leaders like H. Rap
Yeah,
Brown, like Stokely Carmichael, like the people who founded the Black Panther Party, like not
yeah,
these watered down turncoat people that every time
right.
something comes up, they call them and girl, okay, well,
They know I love you.
I think that we may just be out of time, and that's not a bad thing. But I know that we have some really good things to talk about next week. We have another guest coming on. Your brother's coming on next week, so I'm looking forward to meeting him. Is there anything else you want to hit on before we conclude? It seems like it went really fast this week, doesn't it?
Yeah, because of
I
our
mean,
guests, but I think that's our thing where we just should just have certain people come on because I want to have all three of my kids on because you have taken a journey to Africa really quick, and I want to get them on here to let them know that's their next journey with me. I mean, I'm saving right now, and I've already told them, like I've told them, y'all, we're going to Africa, and it's
yeah,
almost
I'm
like,
getting ready to take my kids shortly. Right
yeah,
back.
well, hopefully we can take them together because I was, I've definitely told all of them, like, you're
Are they
going.
interested in going?
When I say you're going to do something like
Oh,
that,
they
they
don't
have
have a choice.
no choice. When I
Okay.
say we're going to do something like that, is something I'm not going to take no for, because
But
I need them.
are they inclined to do it? Like, I understand what you're saying. They're
I
gonna
think they
do
would
it.
just be interested. They would never be excited. Now, if I say we're going to Paris, they would be excited. If I
Oh,
say we were going to Australia, they would probably be excited also. But Africa is something that never was put in their face as glamorous, vacationist. It doesn't appeal to them like the others, appeal.
okay.
So no, I'm not going to even lie and say that they're like, Africa, yay. No, they're
My
just like,
kids are totally on board. They're like, yeah. And then, the one country I wanted to take them to has the yellow fever shots and all that. And I'm like, I don't even want to deal with that. They don't want to deal with that. They're on board. Like, where are we going to go? Okay, let's go. I'm good. That works. I'm fine. Oh, you want to go those dates? Okay, I'm fine. They are on board.
See,
So
that's
I'm
what
good.
I'm talking about. And I'm there with you, but I'm trying to get my kids on board, which, yeah.
That's okay, because sometimes it's a process. And so
Mhm.
as long as they're getting started on that process,
And
then,
you see the process I'm trying to get them to start. I let them, I'm proud. I want you to be proud. That's all.
that's
That's all I
good.
want them
Well,
to
you're
be, is
starting
proud.
it, and you know what? It'll turn out ultimately, I think, the way you need it to. Well,
Right.
another great episode. I'm looking forward to the next episode, and we'll try to maybe line up some more guests, think about topics that we can talk
Absolutely.
about where we can have people come in and contribute, because I think that that's very helpful as
I
well.
do too. I agree.
All right. Well, thank you all for joining us, and we look forward to seeing you next time.
Thank you.
All right. Bye bye.